my wonderful friends, and welcome back. Today we're talking about visual clutter. I think it's safe to say that the fad of minimalism has kind of come, and while it hasn't actually gone, it's not necessarily like as trendy as it used to be. But I do think that the fad of minimalism has had a really positive impact on so many of us, even if we didn't jump in head first and start living with only like one spoon and one fork, you know? I think that it really inspired a lot of us to look at what we have and consider paring back and really think about being more mindful of our stuff. And while I certainly am not a minimalist, I do appreciate the simplicity of having less clutter laying out, and I definitely find that my stress is higher when my home feels cluttered versus when things are less cluttered. I find that my mind is like a little more peaceful and relaxed. And that's why, although I haven't rid myself of all my things, I am always looking for simple ways to reduce visual clutter in my life. And so I thought that I'd share some of those tips with you today. Okay, I find one of the best ways to remove visual clutter is by removing unnecessary packaging and labels. Brands design the labels and packages of things to be flashy so that they can sell them. They want to grab your attention and make you want to buy it when you're in the store. But the problem is, once you're home, you kind of want it to do the opposite, right? You want it to be less flashy. A simple solution is just removing the packaging or labeling something has on it. There's a lot of ways to do this. Certainly, if possible, just remove the packaging or label. Maybe it's taking something out of the box or peeling the label off the bottle. But often this isn't always sort of an option. Obviously, removing labels can leave a sticky residue, and in many cases, the packaging is necessary to hold the item. So in this instance, I find moving the stuff into a more neutral, cohesive package is better. Now, I'm not necessarily doing this for like every single thing I own. That would be craziness, but I focus on the things that sit out on counters or shelves that I can see, things that aren't hidden behind doors. Moving right along, one of the best ways to help you decrease visual clutter is for everything to have a place. I've talked about this tip a lot, but it's really a game changer and super important to helping you with the flow of stuff in your home. You can implement all the reduce visual clutter rules that you want to, but eventually stuff is going to end up on tables, on floors, on counters. The key to keeping your clutter minimal is having a place where everything belongs. When something has a place it belongs, it's very quick and natural for it to be put away. What's the stuff that ends up out and cluttering our flat surfaces? 99% of the time, it's things that don't belong anywhere. Maybe it's something new that you haven't found a home for yet. Maybe it's something temporary that you had out for like a craft project or something you're working on for the house. Maybe it's just a pile of random paperwork and other things you haven't gotten to. If something has been sitting out for more than a few days in your home, I can bet you there's a very good chance it's because it doesn't have a designated permanent place in your home it belongs. You haven't put it away because you're honestly not really sure where it goes. Here's an example in my home on this exact day. Here are some pens. These have a home. I keep all my pens in the drawer, and so when I see them sitting out, I just quickly doing a tidy of the house on this morning. It's super easy to grab these and put them away where they go. Here's another example. This is a package for a project I'm working on in a couple of weeks. I don't need it right now, but I'm gonna need it soon. And so it's just kind of ended up in limbo. It doesn't have a home that it belongs. Now, in order to tackle visual clutter, you need some solutions for those things that don't have homes. So, step one is give homes to all of the permanent things in your house. Your pens, your scissors, your books, your dish towels, Tupperwares, keys, sunglasses, dog toys. You get the point. If it's a permanent thing that belongs in your house, it needs to have a spot that it permanently lives. Step two is to address the stuff that isn't permanent. The things that you maybe need for the next week, but you're not always going to need. I have a drawer in my desk specifically designed for things that I'm currently using for maybe a current video I'm filming or an Instagram post that I'm working on. And if it's not something I'm going to be using in the next few days, I usually store it in the basement. It's easy to say, oh, I'm gonna need this week, or I'll get to it this weekend, and then just leave it out. But I've come to realize it usually takes me less than 60 seconds to take something down to the basement, and then another 60 seconds to bring it back up. So unless I'm actually going to be using it like today or tomorrow, it's worth it to store it away for the time being to save the visual clutter. Now, if you're like me, the one thing that always ends up laying around is random receipts. Now, some I definitely have to keep for taxes, or maybe I'm hanging on to them for possible returns. So these ones I keep clipped away in my pantry. The ones that I don't need, I make sure I'm throwing them away as I tidy. But if you guys have been watching But First Coffee for more than a hot second, you know I'm gonna scan my receipt into my Fetch Rewards app first. I've been using Fetch Rewards for about 2 years now, and I'm always excited when they want to sponsor another video because it means I will have a promo code for you guys. Now, if you don't know, Fetch Rewards is a super easy to use free app where you earn free rewards on literally anything you buy. You scan any receipt or e-receipt, including your Amazon purchases, and you will earn points. Then you redeem these points for hundreds of rewards, including Amazon and Visa gift cards. So when you download the app, use the code BFCoffee and you will get your first 3,000 points when you scan your first receipt. All right, my next tip is to do an audit of the stuff that you have out. And this goes a little bit off the end of my last tip, but when you're tidying, take an audit of what you have out on counters, on flat surfaces, maybe mail, maybe tools for a project, maybe the blender. Then ask yourself, will I use this item in the next 24 hours? And if the answer is no, it's not worth having it out. Sure, I use my blender maybe 2 times a week, and it's heavy, and having to lug it out of the cabinet takes me a few extra seconds when I want to make a smoothie. But that extra few seconds can be the difference between a cluttered counter and one that feels more picked up and clear. And it's really easy to be like, oh my god, it's just a blender, it's not that big of a deal, it's not going to create that much clutter. But the problem is, if we take that approach with just a couple of things, then it can get cluttered really quick. So take the extra 60 seconds to store the things away that you will not be using in the next 24 hours. All right, my next suggestion is to hide wires, all wires when possible. You guys, wires are like the bane of my existence. I loathe wires. They can make a tidy space just feel yucky. Your space can look all clean and nice and simplified, and then wires will just ruin it. Luckily, I have a few solutions for you. One, use a cable cover to hide any wires that might need to hang. For example, we have our TV here. The wire hangs down so that we can plug it in. We are probably going to build it into the wall at some point so that we don't have to have it hanging, but right now we don't. Or if you're renting the space, it's not the option. We just use these wire covers. You can even paint them the color of your wall if they're different color, and you can see what a difference it makes this space look, just having the wires exposed versus having the wires covered. Another product I love are these little wire holders and clips. These work really great to keep wires pulled up and back. We use them in my husband's desk to keep all the wires from like laying all bundled on the floor. My next tip is to try showing just enough of something. So my bathroom has open shelves, probably the last place that I would personally put open shelving because bathrooms are notorious for having lots of little bottles and like odds and ends and whatever, but I didn't design this bathroom that I'm living with currently. The person who owned it before me did. So originally when I moved in, I tried storing most of my things in bins with tops, but I found this really wasn't super successful because I was constantly finding myself pulling all the containers out and opening them up and trying to search for whatever it was I needed. So instead, I've started hiding things in plain sight. I swapped them out for these white containers, which allows me to store everything and still be able to see what I'm looking for with a very quick glance. But it also looks clean and cohesive on the shelves altogether. And going off that tip, one of my best tips for decreasing visual clutter when using containers or bins like this one is to be very mindful of what you're buying. You may be tempted to just grab a handful of bins at Target because they're really great price, they're really cute, only to get home and realize they're like 2 inches too big or 5 inches too small and you're wasting space, or you needed 3 and you only got 2. You want to get containers that are cohesive and look like they belong in a place. So when I bought these bins, I specifically made sure I measured the shelves so I could fit 2 on each shelf. And of course I made sure to get the right amount so I could use all of them on my shelves to get a cohesive look, and I didn't have to mix match different containers. By using all of the same style and color and shape and size container, it makes it look a lot more nice and cohesive. All right, my friends, there you have it. Those are my favorite tips for helping to reduce some visual clutter in your house. Now, don't get the idea that I live in some beautiful, uncluttered home all the time. No, there are children and dogs and husbands running around and me working from home full time at my dining room table. But these little tips make a big difference when I implement them day-to-day life, and when I go to tidy, it's so much quicker, it's so much faster, and it's really easy to get to a space that has less visual clutter when I'm using these rules in my life. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you all in my next video.